Hello everyone, welcome back for another video tutorial. For this video, we are going to make a quick preview for upcoming exam for data structure. And these are the topics that I like to cover for you for this video set. So let's go ahead and open up your text editor that you like. For the coming exam, I recommended to use Sublime for your text editor. So I'm going to do the same thing here as well. So I open up Sublime here and what I like to do is creating the new file, and my new file is going to use to store my JavaScript that student are asked to develop JavaScript file along with HTML contents to deliver this during exam session. So I'm going to save this file as exam. I'm going to save it in the desktop locations. Now, one thing is, whenever you want to save it, make sure that you save it as um, the file with extension HTML. Now, with that in mind, then it's just Sublime. Then you can possibly use the word HTML and then quickly hit the tab. That is going to auto-complete HTML structure. We also need to include script. So let's put script and type tab, and that's going to work for this. Now, in this video tutorial, we are going to get data from online services. Okay, so in this case, I have mockup data on my local server, so we're gonna get it from there. And we're gonna need to make use of what we call jQuery library from the internet. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and open up your web browser, and then type in jQuery. Okay, and I'm going to go get the script import library from here, and you can go and say try it yourself. The reason for this is because it's going to allow you to learn and see the result right here. So allow me to copy this import script from here, and then I'm going to put it in my text editors at this position in the header section. So I put it right here. I save it. Now in the script tag here, the first thing we want to do is to prepare hotel or bootstrap, or tell the system to register a callback function when the document is fully loaded. Alright, now to tell that, we need to have what we call jQuery selector. Now if you work with web design before, we know that you can actually go to any text by, say, get element by ID or by name or by class. Now we are not using that function anymore, but we use what we call jQuery selector by introducing this function call. Now inside that function call, the dollar sign is the name of the functions. In the input parameters, we put the document text or the text that you want to work with. Now in this case, we say that we want to register a function callback whenever document is fully loaded. So we work with document object. So let's put documents. And to register for when the document is fully loaded, we have to call the function ready, and then take one input parameter as the callback function. Let me call it setup. So app setup is a function, so we have to go ahead and implement a function setup. Alright, so let me tell you what it is. So let's say yes and save it. Now I'm going to try to see if this is working on my machine. So let me drag and drop this file, which is exam.html, right here. Alright, so you can see that the first time when I load it up, it's going to also do the alert. That is because when they have already loaded up the documents, it's going to call the function setup, and this is possible because we say, hey, jQuery selector, I want you to select the documents as an object. Once you got an object, you register the callback by saying ready, okay? And this function will get called whenever document is fully loaded. Now inside this function, it just do the alert. Now if you want to see more about this, let's say we put some content right here, contents, and save it. Now if I refresh this, you can see that this document is fully loaded. The content is there before the alert is pop up. Let's see it one more time. As you can see, this is done before the alert is there. Okay, so over here, you can see that in my code, I only have the part that register for this events. Okay, whenever document is fully loaded, we want to do several things like getting data from online, for example. Now, speaking of getting data from online, then I can create another function to get data from this. So I say get data. Okay, and let's say I want to also make a return of this type. So let's list equal to this. So I need to make another function called get data. All right. So what it does is it's going to get the data from online services, and the result will be stored inside this variable. And what we can do is we can actually simply log output of this variable. Now I have my service running already here, and I can show you this. So if you go to this location, which is in the exam situations, I'm going to provide this URL for you. So in my case, it's going to give me the JSON data like this. It's the bunch of objects in the collections. Okay, data is based on CRM process. So in the exam session, the data will be similar to this. Okay, I might introduce additional fields so that you can work on data analytic part of it. All right, so go back to this. Now to get the data from this URL, then we need to call the functions. Okay, get data from internet. If you use jQuery, then there is a function called $.ajax. So this function allows us to get the data from the internet, but we have to supply the options. Option is basically simply the objects. So option is the object. All right. Now inside these objects, you have to indicate three different things. First, you have to indicate the URL, which is going to be, in my case, http://localhost 180. Keep in mind that the URL that you use in the final exam and midterm exam will be different from this, and I will provide this in exam session. Now that's the URL. The second input parameter is the type that you want to get. It's basically tell, okay, you want to use HTTP GET or HTTP POST. Okay, if you want to make query only without making modification of the data, usually we use GET type. Okay, and the last one, we have to register for success. So whenever, okay, you make a request, they use this URL for you. They make a request, they get the data for you. Whenever data is alive, available now, then we say, hey, we want to do to process the data. So we need to implement another function that process this data. Okay. So okay, in that case, you can see that if we want to process the data right here, so you don't need to return anything. So we are going to just go ahead and make declaration of this variable as the global one. So let's say while list1 equal to empty list. We're gonna need to make some filtering as well. So let's put 2 equal to this. Now I can just call get data for this, and it's going to make a request using this options parameter here through the use of this URLs, and whenever data is alive, this function get called. So I need to also go ahead and implement another function called process data. Now when this function get called, the system also pass data for you, so I'm going to call data like this. And what we are going to do is just assign this data. So this one will be equal to this data. And what we do is we just console log this output. Alright, so so we can have more spaces right here. Okay, so we start up by introducing how to register whenever document is fully loaded. We introduce the functions that get data from the net. So the function name is $.ajax. The input is the objects that contain four different information: the URL to the data, the type of getting the data, and whenever data is alive, we register the function. So we say, hey, process data will be called when data is alive. And what we are going to do is we assign to this list one and display it out. Now let's see what is the result by going to um, the actual locations of our file, which is this one. So I'm going to open up console area. Okay, so if you want to open it up, you can go to this button and go to more tools and select developer tools. Alright, so now if I refresh this, as you can see that it give me the data, but it's also give me some error messages right here. Now they're telling that I have 10,000 rows of the objects. We come back and look at this later. Now let me fix this first. As you can see that we do no longer need console log right here. Okay, so when we refresh this, alright, so elegant, and now we got the data. Now let's look at the data together. Let's take a look at the first object here. As you can see, it's the CIM related information about like whenever people give a call to the customer support services. So they give them the customer name, the ID of this case or story, also posted on what date, and maybe the call is based on some particular products. Okay, and the one who pick up the call is this staff, and the status is there to tell that okay, this case or this story has been closed or not. If it is true, that means somebody have already taken care of this case. Okay, I did not put case description there, but in the future, in the final or in the midterm exam, you might experience some description as well. Okay, for now, we keep it simple for the exam. All right, so that's the data structure for each object. Now you can see that each object have timestamp for whenever they got posted. Okay, now you can see that the posted is in the format of the day and the month and the year. And this all happened in January 2019. Okay, what if I ask you to say, okay, is it possible for you to convert this object into another group, and each group we are going to have a weekly basis? So that means in list number 2 that we have right here, I'd like to establish the different data structure. I mean, in the previous one, list 1 here is just a collection that contains 1,000 objects, but it doesn't put it into weekly manner. So I want it to be just input into 4 different weeks. For example, list 2 can have week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4, and week number 5. Now, initially, this data will be just empty collections, but later we are going to assign together. Now, the question would be, how do we actually search for an object that, okay, I know that this objects belong to this date, and what week should it be? Okay, so let me walk you through this process. Now, what we want to do is, after we process the data, we want to also convert it into weekly basis. Okay, so why don't we create another functions called convert to week. Okay, and all right, and then what we do is we call function convert to week right here. Okay, so now this function get called when data alive. What we did was just like assign this data, the whole data, to list 1. Now the next step is we want to convert that list 1 into list number 2 that have object for each week. Okay, so data is randomly selected, so it's going to contain like the posted date on different week. but we want to organize into the same week. So we have week number 1 to week number 5 for the first month of 2019. So in this case, what you could do is, okay, we're gonna have to filter out based on list one. So in this case, look at this. I can say var result would be equal to list one filter by a filter function, let me call week number 1. So after the filter, I should experience all the data that is conformed to week 1 only. And what I want to see is just console log that output. Okay. All right. Now you have learned that to do data alchemist for filtering. Okay. We go ahead and implement a function week 1. Now this function, when it get called, is loop to all of the object in this list and also give you an object as the input. Let me call O. All right. Now for this object, let me call CIM. Okay. Or let me call it story because we have 1,000 story in this case. And now we say that we need to find out about the date informations. Each object have the date information on posted on. So we want to get raw data would be equal to story dot posted on. All right. So in this case, you can see that what we want is ability to look at the day, the date of this, okay, and look at the day, number of the day. If it is 21st, you know that this is going to be on the third week. Okay, if it is on 13, we know it's going to be on second week. So to decide about week number 1, then we have to take a look at this data. So we have to split. We want just to have this data. We do not need months and year. So now this one we can split it up and we say they should be equal to raw dot split. Well, how about this? Let's put dd equal to raw split. We split that data with this data. The data here, we know that it could be split by slash. Okay, so we split it with slash, and we know that after the split, then the first element is representing the day, and this is what we want. So we can go ahead and say day will be equal to dd0. But this is not the end of story, because after the split, the data that we get is not in the correct format. It is still in string. Okay, so you're gonna need to convert it into a number so that we can use this number and compare it to the week day in week number 1. So by converting this string into number, okay, convert string to number. So we need to call function first int. All right, so we got the day, and then we make decision. Okay, if that day, we say we return if that day is less than or equal to 7, because we know that for the first week the number of the day is consisting of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so we say we return the objects only if this is true. All right, so now you can see if this is working correctly. So I expect to see the output, which is result, that is coming from this filtering process. Week 1 is the callback function that does this. Okay, they take object, each object that we have here, 1,000 of them, looking at information posted on, and then only care about the first data here before slash. So that's why we need to split this data by slash, and we look at the first element, which is the day, and then we put it into number so that we can compare it over here. Now that is the week 1. Now let's rerun this to see we got the result in what direction. Okay, so now they say, whoa, now we got 235 objects that happens in week 1. Now if we want to make sure that okay, all of them are in week 1, so we can look at this one. It's number third, so we know it's gonna be first week. This is 5, yeah, first week. 4, see, first week. And what else? 52 is also first week. All right, so as you can see, this is how you accomplish finding week number 1. And I believe that you should be able to do week 2, week 3 by yourself. Now I can show you one more here that we already got week 1. We can also do the same thing. So we duplicate this. And now we're gonna call that this is going to be week 1. So this is week 2. Okay, and we change that this is going to be another callback called filter weeks 2. So we just copy this and then paste down here real quick, change the filter name to be week 2. And now in terms of the match, so you can see that on week number 2, the date that we are looking for would be ranging from number 8 to number 14. So that is in between week 2. So we have to say the day should be greater than 7 and day should be less than and equal to 14. Okay, by doing this, now we should get 2 week 1 and week 2 written here. So let's look at week 2 output. So together now, okay, unify undefined on line 36 is okay. Okay, let's take a look at my code here real quick. Okay, I have this one, the filter of week 1. Okay, the problem with this is that, okay, you already named the filter the callback as week 1, and now you're trying to use the same name for a variable, which is impossible. So let me put WK1, WK2. Now with this output, then they show me they print out. Now I'm going to print out not the callback, but I want to print out the data, which is WK2, and it gives us 227 objects. Okay, so you can go further, and now after you have done all the week, then what you can do is you can combine it into list 2. So you can say, hey, list 2, if you look at my initial setup here, I have list 2 with empty elements. Okay, we have 5 weeks. Okay, so now with those 5 weeks, then we can assign the first element here as week 1. So to do this, we say, hey, that first element, which is this, is going to hold our objects collections. So it's going to be week 1. Do the same thing for second week, that is week 2, and so on. All right, and then if you print out that list 2, see what happened. Look at the structure of the data. Right, they say that now I got 2 of them. Okay, so those are still empty for week 3, 4, and 5. But the first week has already been filled up with a bunch of objects using the filtering techniques. Okay, I believe you can finish this by yourself and then came up with week 3, 4, and 5 by using the same methods right here. So you just have to copy and paste and change this the durations. Okay, all right, what else? Well, okay, so now I tell you how to convert from daily basis to a weekly group like this. Now, in the exam situations, I can also ask you about, okay, I want to know that in what week, okay, that have the highest number of the cases. In what week have the highest number of cases. So in this case, so I can go back here and now I can go further, and then after converted week, okay, I can go down and then call another functions. So let's say file BC, well, okay, highest find week with highest case, story. Okay, so go ahead and implement this function find week with highest story. All right, same math. Now we have list, right? If you want to find out who is the highest, what we can do is we can set up in highest equal to a very low number, which is I would say 0, and then we have to loop through it. So for okay, yi equal to 0, I less than number of week inside list 1. So list 1, I'm sorry, list 2, okay, dot length and I plus plus. So in here you know that we have 1 2 3 4 5, okay, inside this collection, 5 collection in this collection. So we can determine, okay, if the list 2 I dot length, see, we are comparing these elements, okay, not this list. This, I mean, we loop to all 5 different elements in here, and then for each element we accessing this, and we want to know that what is the size of this. Now if you look at the previous example, we know that the size of the first element is 235, the second element is 227. So back here, then we determine that by looking at the length. If it is higher than highest, okay, then we should have in candidate equal to let's say no one, nothing. So if it's more than highest, okay, so what we do is we replace the highest with this list to I dot length, and we also update the candidate. The candidate should be equal to I, but if you just put I, it's going to start from 0. We know that the week will start from number 1, not 0, so we have to add it by 1. So by the end of the loop, then you should be able to console and log a week with BCS. How about this, with highest story? So you can type then candidate right here. Okay, now find out, it's supposed to give up week number 1 as the output. So go ahead, and they say I have error right here. Oh, the reason for that is because this is JavaScript. We do not put int, okay, we put just variable. Okay, sorry about that. Now refresh this, and you can see that they say that week with the highest story is number 1. Okay, now if you want to find lowest, so we just have to do this. Replace this with lowest with big number like 199, and we change this sign from greater than to be less than. Okay, and with highest now become lowest, and then refresh it. Highest is not there. Okay, let me check. The reason for that is because this one is supposed to be lowest, not highest anymore. Refresh this, and you see week with the highest story is 3. The reason for this is because now, you know what happened? Because we have an update. This week, and this week is still empty. So the size of this is very small, and of course, that's why they show that week 3 is the lowest. Okay, I mean, all of them are equal, so they just pick up the first one. Okay, so I mean, now once you get information about this, I can ask you like in the exam, so print me out the week with the number of highest cases, total cases, total case with female gender, total case number that involve the word beef, and so on. Okay, and week that contain highest unclosed status. If you remember here, for each case, we are also having another information for what the status. If it is true, mean it's already closed, it's completed. If it is still false, mean it's still open. Okay, so if they ask for highest unclosed status, then you should be able to answer this as well. Okay, now in addition to this, I show you already how to do the sorting. Okay, for the filtering and mapping, I believe we did this together in the previous class, so you should be able to do this quickly. But I can make a quick review for this for you. So for example, now if we want to do filtering we did, right? Filtering we did, but we still do not do sorting and mapping. Imagine that I like to have list number 2 sorted. So in this case, I mean week, let's say week 1 sorted. So what I can do is I can say, okay, week 1, could you please source, and the output of this is gonna be week 1 sorted, another variable name, and you have to take the callback function. You can put it right here, okay, anonymous function. So I'm going to take this root, so it's going to be a function. You can just implement this function separately outside, like week 1, and then just put the name of the week 1 here. But for simplicity, I just put this whole function right here, and it's going to take 2 input, which is story 1 and story 2. Each time they're comparing this, apple to apple, then if this is the case, they do something for us. So we have to say if that story 1, if. So if you want to source this, okay, based it on, I would say, what else we have? The date, for example. Sorted it based on, the dates might be a little bit difficult for you. So sort it based it on maybe the customer names, okay, by customer name. So we have to say customer name less than story 1 dot customer names, sorry, story 2 dot customer name. Then we return 1, okay, else if second case would be they are equal. So if they are equal, then no switch for the place, just remain the same. So don't need to switch places for object. So we return 0. But otherwise, okay, if this one is more than this, then we return -1. Okay, so that is how you source the data. Also, in order to demonstrate the use of the mapping allows us to reduce or increase number of information. For example, if I want that list just to give a Jananan only for the customer name and the status, then what I can do is I can go ahead and have another, say week 1, okay, sorted, okay, only customer name and status will be equal to week 1 sorted. Now I use this information for sorting already, right? So I can continue using this variable and do the mapping. So I can say map. Just like the previous method, I'm going to use anonymous function directly. So going to have functions, and for mapping, we is only pass one object at a time. And what we do is we say, hey, we want to create a new objects. So we say the objects will be new story equal to this structure. As I told you that we are going to disturb the structure. We do no longer want everything. We just want customer name and status. So we create a new objects that have customer name, and I'm not gonna call customer name. I'm just gonna call just name. Will be equal to the story dot customer name, and status I'm going to call update, and then How about this? Well, just make it simple. Just true or false is good enough. I mean, you can change instead of true false, you can say completed or open. Okay, but for now, keep it simple. So it's going to be equal to story.status like this, and then we return this new story. So what does it mean? So all the objects in this list, okay, is going to pick up each object and then look at that object information for both of this and create a new object, okay, that have these two information and then put it into this basket, this collection. Now you can prove my concept by console.log that w1 is pretty long name, so I'm going to copy this, then put it right here, and then semicolon. So with these operations, then the output, the final output should have already sorted based on the customer name and also having only customer name and status. Now see if this is possible. Now look at the output. For week 1, you can see that now it's actually sorted the name but not in ascending manner. Okay, so the zebra go first. So if you want to fix this, so go back to the source and change this from 1 to 0, and then this become this become -1 and this become 1, or keep it as is like this, but you change this operation is this operator from less than to be greater than. Now with this changes, the first elements will of course having the letter A. Okay, and as you can see now with the second operation that we introduce in this, we introduce first the sorting, so we got sorted, which is good. Now the second operation that we did was having projection with the map, which just project with two information only. We don't want everything like posted date and no, we just want the name and the update status. Okay, you can go further and do something interesting more. So instead of true and false, you can say war status equal to um, completed, completed, and if that story dot status if equal to false, that means it's not completed. So we're gonna say, hey status, you must be equal to processing, for example, not done. And instead of just directly put true false here, you can put status. And you feel like conflicting or confusions, then you can say message. This become message, and then that update will have that message. Okay, just to keep in mind, the reason I avoid using status is because that information is already contained in this. You might get confused. Now we also disturb and change instead of true and false. Now your message will have this instead, so it's going to show a list. As you can see, instead of true false, now it become processing and completed. Okay, I can also ask like how many for week, certain week number. Okay, how many completed tasks are there? So you have to make summations. Okay, and that's your job to finish this. Now what else are done? The next step is ability to show this information on the website. So I mean, we can console it out here, but nobody gonna look at it, right? So we need to make some visualization for decision maker, for example. So we're gonna show it right here. And in order to do this, I need to use what we call bootstrap declaration. So we're gonna have bootstrap here. And in order to use the bootstrap here, so you're gonna need to include it. So how about if I say bootstrap w3c, it's going to give me some example, and I can go through that example here. And the reason for that is because I can try it, and that give us this link that I can just copy and paste into my work. So I have to copy. We already have jQuery. We just need to put this bootstrap JavaScript and bootstrap declaration file, which is CSS. So let me copy this, and then I get rid of the middle later. So go back to my code. So we go to the header sections, and now we can Ctrl V, and we get rid of the one in the middle because we already have JavaScript jQuery right here. Okay, keep in mind that you should call jQuery here import before you calling Bootstrap here. That's the requirement. Okay, call this before this line number. Save it. Now with inclusion of Bootstrap, then I can use things like Bootstrap card. Okay, let me look at this card. Where is the card? Card. Okay, never mind. I can just search Bootstrap card. Yeah, here we go. That the card. Now the card simply is showing something that look like this. Okay, so I'm going to, we have title text, so I'm going to have this and then put it in my work. So in my work, in the body part, I copy and paste here. Okay, now I'm going to also yeah, just keep it like that and then test the result. That's the card. I don't need picture. I can take that picture off, so I don't need this. Okay, take it off. And I also need the card title, so let's call it like say week with highest kiss, for example. Okay, now you can see that this structure is nothing but the div. Okay, if you expand it, is the div with the class name card. Okay, inside this card is contained one more section called body. Okay, I supposed to have another section called header if I remember correctly. So dot card header. Okay, in the header part I put let's say this is supposed to be data. Okay, and if you refresh this, you can see that now we got the card look and feel, but we still have to also support this. So I'm going to take this part off. So for the card tag here, so I'm going to end this with P, and inside of this I'm gonna have div. So I'm gonna have div that will put the ID equal to, let's say, data1. Okay, now here statically, for example, if you put 10, it's going to show 10 right here. Okay, show 10. But what we want is not the static data. We want the data from the real one. What week that have the highest highest cases, highest story. Okay, all right. And so in this case, we're gonna need to change this a little bit. So we have this lowest, right? Previously, now I have highest, so let's put highest, and this should be highest. This should be highest. All right, now that candidate, I want to show both the highest and the candidate in this location. I don't want to console log it anymore. I want to show it right here in jQuery. This is how it works. Okay, to do. Now go up right here. We have already established a div. Okay, a div that have the ID equal to data1. We no longer need this. I want the actual data to appear right here. So what should we do? In this case, so we have to refer to this div with the ID. The ID is data number 1. So we bring that data 1 right here. Go to do. And to reference to that ID, so we just put selectors. Inside the selector, we say we select this ID. Now, if you want to work with the ID, you prefix it with chaf. Don't forget about it. If you refer to the tag with the ID, then you need sharp. Okay, now for HTML, you want to set the tag. So jQuery set tag for depth. Then we either use text or HTML. Okay, I'm going to use text first. So let's come back here. So I'm gonna say text, and that is going to be my candidate. So let's put candidate here. So this is to say, hey, jQuery, go ahead and search for any tag that have this ID, data1. The reason they know it's ID is because of this symbol. So they're gonna search for your body and look at, okay, who has the ID equal to data1, which is this guy. Okay, nobody else have ID equal to data1. And they're gonna put the property text equal to the data that we want, which is candidate. Okay, now let's finish this together, refresh this. And now they say candidates is not divided. Okay, let me check. Oh, the reason for this is because I call it as candidated. So candidate, okay, should be fixed here, candidate. All right, now refresh this, and they say that week number 3 is the I don't think so, right? Because I haven't fixed my algorithm here. This is supposed to be more than, and we should end up having doesn't show is list one dot length greater than highest. Oh, and the highest should be equal to lowest number first. Okay. All right, so they show that, okay, week with the highest case is week number 1. Now you can do the same thing with total cases. So go ahead and go up right here, and I can put another div here, another card alongside with this. So I can put another card here. Now imagine I want to put 2 cards side by side. Okay, 2 cards side by side. Then what I need is actually a div with the class row. Okay, inside this row class, imagine we have 2 columns. So we're gonna need to have div dot column 6. Oops. Div dot column 6. Okay, how about this first? Okay, I can enter this by myself. And div dot column 6. You know, that 2 numbers should be add up equal to 12. So for example, if you want this to be a little bit bigger, so instead of 6, you can put 8, but this you have to balance it with 12, so this should be 4. And this will take about 8 divided by 12% portion of your screen. Okay, how about this? Let me put 10 and 2 so you can see effect. And now let me put back my code, which is the card. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is my first card. This is the card, and then with this, I'm gonna need to put it into the second column. See, I have 2 div. The first div here represent the first column. So this div represent the second column for this row. So I'm going to put the second card, and this card is going to have data 2, and I can change this to be total number of week, total case, total story. Okay, number of stories. So put this. All right. Now I do the same thing. I have data 2 that I just the placeholder. I can put data in this placeholder by using selector. So I can do the same thing here. I can say, hey selector, I want you to look at the div or the tags that have ID equal to data 2, and I want you to set the text equal to list1 dot length, because we want to get all the story, number of story, okay, from the original list. Save it, refresh this, Alright, now seem like um, data total story, it's margin things, I guess. So first I have to check my card to see if this is working correctly. Card, card bodies, okay. Card body, card with the title, card with the headers, which is supposed to be somewhere right. Okay, card tag, card header. Okay, we have header part of this. Div card, card header body. Okay, title. Now if I go back right here, let's look at this reference correctly. If I done this correct, jQuery minimum. Okay, alright, so if I take this back here in between, and if I look at my card one by one, it start with, oh, it's the card body without card, right? So we're gonna have to wrap this into the card just like this. So we have card body, we have card headers. Okay, so that's why it's losing the track. So okay, how about if we do this from the beginning? So the row things here. So let's take this off. We're gonna do it manually so that you understand this concept. So we are going to take this off. So we're gonna have two rows. So div.card. Now inside this div, we have section called header. So div.card header, and then you hit tab. I think it doesn't like dash. I had to manually put header, and in the header part I put let's say analytic one. Now another section is going to be card again for body. Inside this tag is going to be a section of the title, so h5.card card title. I'm gonna put number of total story first, and then we also have the card text, so p dot card, and then text. In this section we put the div with data2, if you remember. Okay, so that's total story. Now we work on this, then we can just copy this and we can put this into another div. Alright, like this on the same level, but we're gonna put, initially, why don't we just put equal assignments for the weight for 6 and this is analytic 2. Total story now is going to be number of highest week with highest story. So this will be data number 1. Save it and go to the result. Alright, seem like it doesn't show the body part. Is it because I have different tag things? Okay, so this is the end of my div tag. This is the end of the first div tag here. So this is the end of the row, which is good. So that means this div is not part of it. So yeah, so this is not there, should not be there. Then refresh this. Still I cannot. Okay, go to Bootstrap one time. So there is actually downloaded Bootstrap already, so Bootstrap should work, but data 2, that's there. Data 1, that is there. And the only thing that I need is set it up like this. Okay, how about without this? Not sure if this is the concerns of the Save it. 5 week with higher story, and 5 week with higher story is already coded or not. Okay, see, oh, it's already coded right here. So this is supposed to be passed, and let me console.log. So that means text might not be working. So how about if I use HTML? Okay, fetch. It shows something, but it got leave off. Okay. Let me look at my body one more time. Okay, how about if we put another columns just in between, class of div of column, and that column is about 2, so that we can see this is going to be 4, that will be 4 as well. This is just going to be empty column. I want to see that it doesn't actually come to on the right hand side. Okay, might be because of my program. Let me quit this, open it up with another browsers. Now drag and drop this in. Open file and desktop. Okay, it seems like it's showing to the same margins thing, so that means cart is not working properly. Okay, let's see if I can fix this. Okay, good, interesting. So cart, bootstrap, can actually try to use, card supposed to look like this. Okay, card body, but why it's got leave off? That's the problem. Bootstrap 3.0. Okay, I think this is the old versions. The one that I use is the newer version, supposed to be version 4 already. So that means let's go to Bootstrap version 4. Version 4. Okay, alright, so I need to use the reference for this link instead of that one. So copy this, and now I can put this link right here. And then for JS slim build, so let me put everything here. So let's put here for replacing this. Save it. Alright, now I can try see there is any changes. Here we go. Alright, so I think I referenced to the wrong version. It's already not working. Okay, so now if you look at my cart, it tells the story as well, but still doesn't show number, right? So we have to go fix this together. Let's, instead of HTML, let me call text. Refresh this. Interesting. It's not a function. Oh, it's already not working since Ajax is not a function for jQuery 3.3.1. So I think I have a bootstrap. Okay, so this is the proper bootstrap. Oh, jQuery is not there, so I have to put jQuery back in. jQuery, okay, the version that they use supposed to be from CDN, so I can say cdn. Alright, code jquery.com. It's called uncomplete version here, so I can copy this and then I put it below. Oh, I think I need to copy this. Okay, copy, then Control V. Oh, is that wrong? Yeah, maybe. Okay, save it and refresh this. I don't think this is the correct reference. Let me go back and look at W3C one more time. W3C school jQuery. Alright. This is the one that I need, that I accidentally remove it. So let me put it here. Okay. Now let's try again. Alright, so it's correct. Okay, so they told us total story and week with higher story as well. Now I'm going to post this code for you as well. So this is the working Bootstrap and jQuery together. That's the version that I use. Okay. From time to time, Bootstrap also have different changing in terms of the updates of the title and section. So that's why using older version might not working with this tag at all. So make sure that you use the correct versions. Okay. Alright, so this is all for the first video tutorial. I have already shown you all many concepts, including getting data from the internet, do the conversion from daily to weekly, perform some reporting, okay, doing sorting, filtering, and mapping together already. Filter is done in a weekly basis already. Display this information. Okay, the next video tutorial we are going to talk about recursive function and big O notation. I'll see you. Thank you.